Hey guys, welcome to the Jordana River Podcast. I'm Jordana, and I'm thrilled to have you guys back on our third episode. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to my home. I told myself not to sound like Barney. I'm really working hard on that with the hello again to all my friends. I'm glad you came to play. No, but I'm really glad to be back. We took about a week break. And we're going to start with the beautiful Sumerian Hills with my wonderful photography. So let's just take a look here. It is evening, October 10th, Thursday evening, and it is the sunset of the year. We will get to that in just a minute. First, beautiful olive trees of the Shomron Hills here in my backyard. Let's get started. All right, so today is, as I said, Thursday evening, October 10th, 2024. Tomorrow we welcome the Sabbath, but not only the Sabbath, but also Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement that the Jewish people celebrate. It's a holy day and a holiday in essence. It's a fasting day where the adults, men above the age of 13, women above the age of 12, of course not people who are elderly or sick who need to eat, all fast on this very awesome and awe-filled day, but it's also a joyous day where God forgives all of our wrongdoings and sins. The concept, I'm just going to touch upon the concept of atonement so we can before we get to the theme of the video, which I called Yom Kippur 2024 Day of Atonement, Atoning the Evils of October 7th Horrors by Destroying Evil. So first of all, just a little bit about the concept of forgiveness and atonement. We believe that, in Judaism, we believe that the concept of forgiveness, first of all, forgiving ourselves and forgiving other fellow human beings and our fellows and our peers and our friends, and God forgiving us is a concept that was actually primeval and even preceded the creation of the world, meaning it was something that God gave the world as a gift. The concept of forgiveness and forgiving each other and ourselves is something that allows us to renew and to constantly learn and grow and renew. If we didn't, what kind of world would it be if we didn't have forgiveness in our lives? As I said, first of all to ourselves, because I think a lot of people struggle to forgive themselves and their friends and people who offended them or did wrongdoings, and God forgiving all of humankind and the Jewish people. So it's something that even preceded the genesis of the world. That's what we believe. Tshuva kadma laolam, that the concept of teshuva is repentance and forgiveness, and being able to repent and go back to the right path preceded the creation of the whole world. And then when the world was created, it wasn't just an afterthought of being able to forgive human beings and human beings forgiving each other, but it was basically, that's how the world was built. So it's a very powerful, exciting, but awe-filled day, Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, and I really would like to connect the concept of atonement to atoning the evils of October 7th. I am not referring to the murderers and the sadistic, brutal Islamo-Nazis that committed the atrocities and the Holocaust Day of October 7th, 2023. But I'm talking about, in general, the concept of how we as a world received the news of October 7th and what we're doing with it since, and how that has to do with our own soul searching as a society and destroying evil. So first of all, I just want to touch upon the concept of atonement in general in Judaism. There is a concept called para aduma, the red heifer. It's a very kind of mysterious thing that's written in our Torah, that in order to cleanse and to purify from certain impurities. Now, impurities can be many different things, but let's put it this way: impurity can basically mean wrongdoings. Okay, impurity is the not good, bad wrongdoings of the world. How to cleanse it is a kind of mysterious, kind of strange thing that's written in our Torah. The Kohen Gadol, the high priest, has to take a red heifer, and there's a whole process of burning the red heifer and using the ashes. It has to be a completely red heifer, by the way, and taking the ashes and then sprinkling the water, the ash water, onto the person who needs to be cleansed, onto the Jew who needs to be cleansed. I recently heard a very interesting lecture that explains this concept, and just in general, it really, the red heifer, being red and a heifer, symbolizes the vitality of life and the life force. A heifer is not like saying, "Oh, you're such a heifer," fatso. It really, a heifer is like very strong animal, like a bull, if you will. It's the same kind of concept, very strong, powerful, vital animal. And a red heifer, the red really symbolizes vitality. So how we cleanse ourselves is by taking life, the essence of life, vigor and vitality and life force, but channeling it for the good, using it for the good. That is the bottom line, underlying concept of Judaism in a nutshell. We believe in the world as being material world, but we want to be part of it. We don't want to just disengage and be in a spiritual la la land, but we believe in living in this material world, but using the life force for good. Which brings us back to our topic of atoning the evils of the October 7th atrocities. My bottom line is that fighting evil, we have to use force. How do we defeat evil? By defeating evil. First of all, our Western world is now in an era that you can call postmodern era, where we kind of gave up, the Western world gave up on the world, so to speak. We don't, the world, we don't know what's right, we don't know what's wrong, we don't know what's truth, we don't know what's lies, what's moral, what's immoral. Boundaries between countries have, blurred, which can be, there could be positive sides to these processes. Immigration between countries can be a good thing, but the crumbling of boundaries between countries, the boundaries between good and evil, not knowing what's good, what's evil. Hamas Islamo-Nazis are glorified on American college campuses, and Israeli forces who are doing an incredible job targeting terrorists are considered the bad guys. There's a lot of confusion, and these are the symptoms of the postmodern world. And in Israel, what's been happening for the past 2 or 3 decades is post-Zionism. So it's a kind of a parallel process going on in Israel. Excuse me. Where we don't believe in our country. We don't, I'm talking about certain sectors and very certain positions that were in the army and in the top brass in the army and in the governments that we had in the past few decades, who didn't believe that we could defeat our enemies. We're tired of fighting terror. We're tired of defending our boundaries, our borders as a country. Let's just give up. God forbid. Let's just give up. Let's give in. Let's give away territory, which we did. We gave away a huge territory of Sinai, the Sinai desert, which we just gave away to Egypt after they attacked us, and we conquered the land after they attacked us. We had an agreement with them because we were tired of fighting or being attacked, and we gave away the Sinai. In 2005, as I said in the previous episode, we just gave away the beautiful Gaza Strip Jewish agricultural communities. Let's just give it away to the Gazan Arabs who elected Hamas terrorists in order to create a terror amusement park in Gaza. The post-Zionism is like postmodernism. It's tired, it's despaired, it's confused, what's wrong, what's right. But I really wanted to talk about a very, very relevant chapter in world history, modern world history. Let's go back to World War II, Nazi Germany, 1938. Adolf Hitler led Nazi Germany. And in 1938, the world still didn't quite understand or realize the upcoming evils of Nazi Germany and what their goals were. And in 1938, there was the very famous Munich Agreement. The British Prime Minister then, Neville Chamberlain, he was the British Prime Minister back in 1937 to 1940. Back in 1938, he was best known for his policy of appeasement, appeasing the enemies, appeasing the aggressors who were then Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, 1938. This is before World War II broke out officially, and before 6 million Jews were slaughtered in the Holocaust, and millions of American, British, Russian soldiers were killed in World War II. Before all that happened, the British Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain, wanted to appease Hitler and Nazi Germany. And he basically, now Nazi Germany was then doing small aggressive steps, low intensity, undeclared war on Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia had some region that, they had a lot of ethnic Germans living there. And Nazi Germany, led by Hitler, were sort of invading and being very aggressive. And Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister, did the Munich Agreement together with France, of course, and in which they gave Nazi Germany, they gave away territory, parts of Czechoslovakia, gave it away to Nazi Germany, in hope that the appeasement, sound familiar, will calm down and settle down our cute little Nazis. Do you guys think that helped? No. They actually called the Munich Agreement the Munich Betrayal. I think the Czechoslovakians called it that. They basically gave away territory to Nazi Germany, and shortly after World War II broke out, and the Prime Minister who replaced Neville Chamberlain was none other than Winston Churchill, a very powerful, inspiring, and true leader. And he had very famous, powerful speeches. One of them was called the Beaches Speech, or the Speech of the Hills. I want to read to you guys a short excerpt from this speech. It's really, really touching. At least it was to me. This is what Winston Churchill spoke about when he took over the prime minister as prime minister in England. He decided to fight Nazis, to stop with the concessions and stop with the surrendering to Nazis. He gave such speeches that were very inspiring when the situation was extremely difficult, to put it in the least. And once again, millions of soldiers, British and finally when America joined in, American soldiers and Russian soldiers in the Red Army were killed. And this is what Winston Churchill, in the face of terror and hardship and just world horror of what was going to take place, nobody knew. Nazi Germany wanted to take over, no different than Iran. That's my spoiler alert. I just gave away the whole concept. But really no different than Iran, because Iran and the Islamo-Nazis, not all Muslims, but the hardcore, extreme, fundamentalist Islamo-Nazis who want to take over the world. This is what Winston Churchill, he spoke to his people, to the British people, and this is what he said. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island, or a large part of it, were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until in God's new time, he used to mention God, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old. Now I want to ask you guys, which approach succeeded in defeating Nazi Germany from taking over the world? Neville Chamberlain, who gave away parts of Czechoslovakia to appease Hitler? Or Winston Churchill, who decided to fight despite all the difficult, horrific circumstances? England was bombed. Again, millions of soldiers were killed, unfortunately. He said, we'll never surrender. Now, back to October 7th, 2023. There is no difference between the Nazis who murdered 6 million Jews in the Holocaust and the Islamo-Nazis of Hamas, who butchered, raped women, decapitated heads off Jewish men, burned babies in ovens after breaching the Gaza border fence. About 5,000 to 6,000 terrorists invaded and slaughtered entire Jewish communities. There is no difference between the Nazis and the Hamas Nazis. After Israel regained some type of composure and decided after a few weeks, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to go into the Gaza Strip. We're going to try to get back our hostages. 250 hostages. But these aren't soldiers. These aren't Jewish soldiers that they took as prisoners. These aren't war. These are not prisoners of war. Excuse me. They took children, women, elderly people into the Gaza Strip, into the tunnels and dungeons, into torturous conditions. God knows what they did and are continuing to do to our 101 hostages who still remain there. These are Nazis. Now, Israel decided to fight. But it wasn't just Hamas. We have a 7-front war. And we decided to fight. How do you defeat evil? Like Neville Chamberlain, by appeasing, or like Winston Churchill, by fighting? You fight. This is basically what I meant in the title of the video today. Atoning for the evils of October 7th. Obviously, to the world who witnessed and saw the horrible atrocities, what do we take from this? What can we even fathom from this? And everyone took different approaches. I think there was about 2 to 3 days where the world was sympathetic to Israel. I think the Eiffel Tower lit up with the flag, the Israeli flag or so, and that was very touching. But after about a few days, the postmodern despair of the Western world, creeped back in, and there was that confusion again. Oh wait, we forgot about who was being slaughtered and massacred by the Islamo-Nazis, and who's going into the Gaza Strip to eliminate terrorists. And again, evil is defeated by using force, just like the red heifer that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. The red heifer symbolizing the force and the vitality of life. We use that. We need to use force in order to defeat evil. We cannot just sit idly by and watch evil without doing anything about it. Or worse yet, like what's happening on a lot of American Ivy League college campuses, support the Islamo-Nazis, to actually support. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but it's absurd. Claudine Gay, the then president of Harvard, if I'm not mistaken, when she was asked if she could condemn what happened on October 7th to the Israeli state, to the Jewish people, she said something like, it has to do with the context. Okay? It has to do with the context and the murderers and hatred towards, these innocent Israeli agricultural communities. It was not born in a vacuum. That was basically the essence of what she was saying. She later resigned, thankfully. She had no choice. We defeat evil by using force. After Israel decided to go into the Gaza Strip and try to get back our hostages and clean out the hundreds of tunnels, underground tunnels in the Gaza Strip Islamo-Nazi amusement park that they built there, and to clean out the terrorism that was condemned by the world. And not only that, but we have Hezbollah in the north firing thousands of rockets since October 8th, a day later, onto Israel, till this day, including. Finally, about a month ago, Israel changed to a new phase and started taking the initiative of using force in the north, in the north of the South Lebanon, north of our country, where about 100,000 Israelis are still displaced persons and they cannot live in their homes because Hezbollah is firing non-stop rockets onto the north. Now that Israel completed the intense fighting in the Gaza Strip in the south, like I said, we have enough focus and resources to pay attention and to take the initiative to fight back on the North. And what did we do? By the grace of God, we killed Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah. That's like no different than modern day Hitler. Yeah, I stand by that. These are modern day Nazis who want nothing but to slaughter and kill innocent people. They have rivers of American blood on their hands, rivers of French blood on their hands, Jewish blood. To kill Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, was a joyous and wonderful thing. And we're defeating evil. We're starting to see amazing results, thank God, in defeating the Hezbollah terrorist organization, the Islamo-Nazis. And now we are also on the brink of fighting back against Iran, who launched about 200 ballistic missiles onto Israel in a direct attack last week. And I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Are these things to be condemned, to condemn Israel for? To condemn Israel for taking out top Hezbollah, Islamo-Nazi leaders who actually have bounties on their head for killing Americans? America has had bounty on one of the top Hezbollah officials, Fuad Shukar. I don't know. I don't think the Israeli government has seen that money. We didn't get paid for that bounty. We didn't even get a thank you. We actually got a condemnation, I think, from Biden. It was more of a, what did you guys do? Why did you kill him? Instead of a thank you and give us the money. So what do you guys think? Do you think that it's the wrong thing to attack Hezbollah leaders and Iran? Iran is the leader of the axis of evil. What I mean by that is that Hamas and Hezbollah, Hamas being the ones who massacred and butchered, raped, mutilated, cut off organs, and decapitated Jewish innocent civilians. They're funded by Iran. Hamas would not have the capabilities or the funding if it weren't for Iran. Iran seeks the total destruction of the Jewish state. That is no different at all than Nazi Germany, only that now it's concentrated onto the Israeli state, whereas in the World War II, the Jews were dispersed across Europe and America. Now there's millions of Jews living in Israel, thank God. And to me, it seems pretty clear, and I hope it does to all you good folks out there, Jews and Gentiles alike, that taking out top Hezbollah and Iranian officials, Iran being, again, the main funder and trainer of Hamas and Hezbollah, and their aim is to take over the world, no different than Nazi Germany. And they're also working on their main project, the nuclear facilities project. And to take out the nuclear facilities is a good thing that will clean the air of the world and will make the world a better and safer place. I'm really curious what you guys think. Drop a comment. What do you guys think? Which approach will win? The Neville Chamberlain approach or the Winston Churchill, we will never surrender approach? I just want to end with my favorite, Dr. Phil. All right, Dr. Phil, yeah, I'm holding up his book, The Ultimate Weight Loss Solution. I hope I'm not that overweight. I actually got this book about 10 years ago from a friend of mine. You know who you are. And I used to love watching the Dr. Phil show. And my friend got me the weight loss solution, and it was very offensive to me at the time. But this friend claimed that they were at the airport, and this is the book that they had at the airport. Anyways, Dr. Phil is an example of a real, just good, righteous person who knows good from bad. He doesn't have the postmodern symptoms of confusion and moral unclarity and moral confusion. And he, since October 7th, has stood up for the right side, for the side of good, for the side of humanity and civilization, and against barbarism and sadistic violence. And he had parents of hostage, Jewish hostage, American Israeli Jewish hostage, who was unfortunately executed by Hamas Islamo-Nazis. He had the parents on his show and on an interview, and he had on his show, on the Dr. Phil show, a confrontation basically between I think a Jewish person and a Muslim American. And what he said was just so, put simply, Dr. Phil has that Texan accent, so it could sound a little bit simplistic, but it's really not. He just has that moral clarity that he could explain things very simply. But he basically says, and I'll show you guys, it's a very short clip in just 1 second, but he basically says, I don't give a damn why they decided to murder. It's wrong. And it's wrong. And that's it. That's the bottom line. It's wrong. My impression used to be much better. I'm still a bit rusty. I'm going to work on my impressions, guys. But my friends, he knew to stand up for good. And I want to show you guys that clip in just a moment. Okay, guys. Here's the short Dr. Phil video. Take a look.
When I ask you if what happened on October 7th is something you condemn, and you say, well, you have to look at that by looking at hundreds of years of conflict. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's either right or it's wrong, and it was wrong, and I don't need 100 years of conflict to know it was wrong. When somebody comes over a fence and goes into someone's house and burns their infant in its crib, I don't give a damn why they did it. It's wrong. When I ask you if...
There it was. My 30-minute segment, and Dr. Phil sums it up in 1 minute. Guys, stand up for good and defeating evil by using force and fighting evil. I wish you guys all a wonderful new year, and may we all forgive ourselves and each other, and have a wonderful new year full of goodness, and good news for the whole world, for the Jewish people, and for the people who support the Jewish people. As we say here in Israel, Gemar Chatima Tova. May you all have a good signature for the upcoming new year. So have a great new year, my friends, and we'll be in touch. Bye for now.